Hey everybody, Jay Privman, the national correspondent with Daily Racing Form, along with Mike Watchmaker. He's the national handicapper with Daily Racing Form, and every week we put together the Derby Watch Top 20. And Mike, let's get right into it and discuss the additions that we made for this week. One of them coming out of the Risen Star Stakes at the Fairgrounds. War of Will won this race. He was already on our list, but the runner-up Country House moves onto the list. Let's talk about the merits of these two colts.
Well, War of Will is certainly the most accomplished 3-year-old so far this year, but that's sort of a backhanded compliment when you consider that many of the main players, including the two Derby favorites, Game Winner and Improbable, have not raced yet this year. But War of Will is added the Risen Star to his victory in the Lecomte. I think that my opinion of his Risen Star was probably contrary to the opinion of most people. I thought the pace that he tracked was very unremarkable. It was very comparable to the one that Serengeti Empress cut out when she won the Rachel Alexander in the race before and then went on to win that race by open lengths. War of Will sat off at that early pace of the Risen Star. And he came home and he won. He scored decisively, but he only got a very modest 92 Beyer speed figure. So, and he scored by 2 1/4 lengths over Horse and Country House, who's a goofball. But has talent, but is a bit of a goofball. So I'm still kind of like looking elsewhere. As for Country House, he's got a nasty habit now of being slow out of the gate and sluggish early, and I'm very much concerned that after 4 starts, he hasn't started to put things together yet.
Yeah, I liked War of Will's race a little more than you did. One thing I like about him is that he puts himself in a good position. And I think that's important in the Derby, especially with the way the pace unfolds in this day and age where you don't get the stretch out sprinters that spread the field. I think positional early speed is important, and we know that at least he has that. As for Country House, yeah, he really needs to get his manners together. He didn't break all that sharply, and then he lugged in badly through the lane. But still, with all that, he still ran on to be second, and I have a whole lot of faith in his Hall of Fame trainer, Bill Mott, that whatever there is to get out of Country House, he will get it out of him. Speaking of Hall of Fame trainers, Mike, the other horse that we added to our Derby Watch Top 20 list this week is Galilean. Now, Jerry Hollendorfer trains him. He already had the unbeaten Instagram on our list, but Galilean moves onto the list after this win that we're going to watch in the California Cup Derby on Monday. What did you think of his performance on Monday?
Well, he won the way a prohibitive favorite is supposed to win. He won by many lengths and decisively. The two negative aspects to it is the field he beat was very hungry, and he only earned an 84 Beyer speed figure for this performance. And he's no matter what path he takes to the Kentucky Derby, he's going to run against better, faster horses in his next start. And he's going to have to show that he can do more than that. Maybe he's got it in him. I don't know. He's certainly a promising horse, and I wouldn't put it past the connections to get every ounce of ability out of this horse. But still, he's got some improving to do in order to be considered a top-flight Kentucky Derby contender.
That's true. I mean, he's done enough to make it into our list. I don't think either you or I have him as one of the elite members of this group right now. One thing I like about what they did with him, though, in terms of management, is that because he's a Calbred, even though he's by Uncle Mo, the mare dropped the foal in California and was bred back to a California-based stallion, so he was eligible for the Calbred program, and they've taken advantage of that. They've given him 4 races against that level of competition. Now he's ready to go into open company. As you said, he's got to step up when he does. And I think the best move for him would be to go out of town to a race in Arkansas or maybe even something like the Sunland Derby instead of taking on the big boys in the San Felipe. That might be way too big a jump for him at this stage of his career. But I am eager to see how he does when pitched against open company. Now, Mike, there were 2 other point-scoring races last week in addition to the Risen Star. I think it's worth mentioning those 2 races because both the El Camino Real Derby that was won by Another Twist of Fate and the Southwest that was won by Supersteed had winners who we have left off our Derby Watch Top 20, and I think it's worth elaborating as to why.
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I think we are in agreement. I don't think either one of us really liked the Southwest as a race. It was a lowly rated race in terms of buyer figures. only an 87 winning buyer. The winner was a 62 to 1 shot that just as easily could have been 620 to 1 as far as the way I looked at the race on paper. And it was a weak race on paper, but he was absolutely one of the rank outsiders. And I think that they could have run that Southwest 10 different times. You probably would have got 10 different winners, and the buyer would have never been higher than 87. So it's a long-winded way of saying I don't think it was a particularly strong group. As for the El Camino Real Derby, a Twist of Fate might be a nice horse, but he's doing all his good work on a synthetic racing surface. And the only time that he ran on dirt, and the only time that he did not race in Northern California, he got beat the length of a stretch. So at least I have to see something good from him on the dirt against legitimate company before I would advocate putting him on our Derby watch list.
And that was the discussion that Mike and I had earlier this week when we were putting together our list, and that's the reasons why those two horses specifically did not crack into the top 20 this week. Well, you can find our entire Derby Watch top 20 on the Racing Form website. Mike and I will be back next week with a preview of the Fountain of Youth Stakes. There's no point scoring races this weekend, kind of an unusual weekend at this time of year, but next week, one of the big ones, the Fountain of Youth Stakes, we'll be back next week to preview that. For Mike Watchmaker, I'm Jay Privman. Thanks for watching.